What's up, everybody? This is Chris Nichols, and you're listening to an episode of the Nichols and Dimes Show featuring Zander Kingsley. Enjoy. Zander, man, what's going on?
Not much. Just a beautiful Friday. We actually have the sun out today.
Gosh, finally, man. It's been quite the year in San Diego, huh?
Yeah, I think it's the longest time it's been since February that we've had overcast.
Yeah.
As well be living in Portland.
I know. Seattle, it's people from other parts of the country who are saying, oh, well, you guys have a nice all the time, and now you see what it's like. It kind of pisses me off because it's like, well, we pay for it out here.
Yeah. We pay for outdoor air conditioning and sunshine.
Yeah.
And right now we have neither.
I know, for real. Man, well, I'm stoked you hit me up, man. I'm glad we met through friends and at some party events we were at recently.
Yep.
And it sounds like you got some really cool things going on that you're working on. So I'm excited to get into it with you.
Yeah.
But dude, let me just give them a quick intro on who you are, and then we'll get into everything. So guys, I'm here today with Zander Kingsley, who is founder of three businesses. One is called Fivecent Art, which is a mixed media and sculpture art business that he runs. Number two is Kingsley Design Group, which is his design and branding firm, specializing in packaging, fair to say.
Yep.
Right? And then Vasi, which is a Web3 agency that's currently it's building a ticketing app. So to get into that stuff with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Zander's from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, went to Florida State University where he got his degree in fine arts and is currently based out of San Diego. Dude, what a cool spot here in La Jolla, and I appreciate you having me over.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to have you.
Yeah. Well, so man, let's where should we start? You've got a hell of a story, it sounds like, just from some stuff we've talked about prior to the podcast here, but maybe we should start with your childhood growing up in Fort Lauderdale. Like, what was your life like, just so we can get an understanding of who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good place to start. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and my parents were both in the yachting industry. So my dad was a captain for 37 years, and then my mom was a stewardess, and that's how they met. And Fort Lauderdale is the yachting capital of the world.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom circumnavigated the globe with one other person back in the 70s. My dad's gone around the world a few times on different vessels.
Wow.
And then I started working on yachts when I was like probably 12, just doing like wash downs and helping my dad. And so yeah, my whole upbringing was very nautical and based around the water.
That's okay. So like, that's interesting. The yachting capital of the world, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I think I've only been there once by going through the airport when I was going to Miami. So I didn't get a good look at it. But like, what does that have to do with who you are today, being surrounded by all these boats?
I think it definitely determined like a lot of my style, like how I do things. Also, what it really did for me was it's a rare glimpse into like super wealth. Like you see people that are wealthy. You might see someone driving a Ferrari down the street and be like, oh my God, they're super successful, or like go to a nice mansion. Mm-hmm. This is a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. Like I worked on one boat and it was called Big Zip. Yeah. And I asked why is it called Big Zip? And they said, have you ever seen the letters YKK? Mm-hmm. And I went, yes, but where? And they're like, zippers. They were the family that invented the zipper. Oh. And I was working on their brand new $45 million yacht. Wow. It was 200 feet, and I was helping it get ready after it was just finished up being built. And so they were, I think, like third descendants of that family, but yeah. Wow. Yeah. So so when you see that like upper echelon of like super wealth, it just opens your eyes to the world and like what you can achieve. Yeah. And what you can get to.
And so when did you think that really, how old were you when you were working on that boat, and then that actually hit you saying, hey, this is someday what I would like to be a part of? Is that fair to say?
It wasn't that boat in particular, but it was just because I started at 12, and so like I didn't really have like that grasp on reality. But I kind of carried that childhood innocence through into like my older years, because I was like, there's no one that says that I can't do this, that I can't have this. And I was like, as I was working on the boats, like I was always thinking like, okay, so how would I run my boat that I own, or what boat would I have? And I always like just kept that in the back of my mind, and like that pushed me forward to wanting to like be successful. And I know success is like beyond just material possessions, but it's just a good visual like representation.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. And so having that in mind, did that basically tell you, hey, I need to take the route of entrepreneurship, I need to run my own thing someday? Or did that drive you more into some idea of, I need to get a high paying job?
Well, the other side of working on yachts is it's kind of a brutal industry. It's a lot of physical labor, and there's no regulation, so they can abuse the shit out of you. And that is what set my mindset of like, I don't want to work for anyone. Like I need to work for myself. I cannot like be under someone's thumb.
I see. That makes sense. Okay. And so how did art tie into your life growing up? Because that's most everything of what you're working on today.
Yeah. It was like kind of early on that I was good at it.
When were you, elementary school and in class?
Elementary school. I still remember it was for like a science fair. I did a drawing of Albert Einstein, and it was like shockingly good for a 9-year-old. And my parents were like, you have a skill.
So your parents noticed it, or was it like teachers and stuff?
Both.
Okay.
And I was the kid that never fucking paid attention in class. Just doodled the entire time. And like, I never was very good at school itself. When I went to college, I got kicked out twice, talked my way back in twice for bad grades. And it wasn't until I settled into my Bachelor of Fine Arts major that I was successful. Because at that point, then I was like, my classes were making things. Yeah. And I'm very good at that.
Wow. That's, dude, I can relate to actually a lot of what you said. I was kind of artistic as a kid and had trouble with school in a similar way. So it's definitely relatable to hear that. But like, what type of art were you doing from like how much of it was it a part of your life outside of the basic art classes that every kid takes, through elementary school and beyond, which usually isn't much the older you get? Like, I guess, how did you keep art as a major part of your schooling? And if not, then how'd you manage it in your hobby, in the free time of your life?
So, I mean, I guess the best way to answer this is, I think like when I was about 15, 16 is when I wanted to start a clothing company. And I like the design aspect and I liked the style aspect. So when I went to college, I started in business school and with the idea to start a clothing company, and failed macro micro, got kicked out of that. So I went to retail merchandising, again, failed macro micro. And at that point I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn the art side of things, and then I'll teach myself the business side. So that's when I got into art school, and then that's when I started taking these different classes, because I had a focus in digital in the beginning. But as I started taking these other classes, I started like learning more things and developing my own style that was not just design for clothing. It was like now I'm making like full pieces. And
this all started in college?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
And so I started my clothing company. I took a screen printing class, and I started my clothing company at 20. And then ran that all throughout college. And then my junior year of college, I was sitting on, it was like probably like winter about, and I'm sitting on my back deck with my buddy and business partner, and we're smoking. I'm like, they got food trucks. Why don't they have clothing trucks? And he's like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, we should make one. Yeah. And he was like, that's a good idea. And so the next day we woke up and we're like, wait, I know that was a high idea, but that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And so we're like, but how do we do this? We're both broke college kids. I was like, well, what about Kickstarter? And so we ran a Kickstarter and raised 10 grand in 20 days and ended up buying a school bus and gutted that out.
Really? A school bus?
37,
that cost?
37 foot. I won the bid. It was from the Mississippi School District. I bought it like county auction. I won the bid by $1. It was $2,501.
Wow.
And then we used the other 7 grand to get it to where we gutted it out, had bunk beds in the back, and then like a full lobby couch area in the front.
Really?
It was like a whole storefront. And,
wow.
And so we just got in it and drove up the East Coast. We would just stop. We tried to find like different like beer festivals or like breweries, pretty much anything that we could like get into as a vendor.
Yeah.
And also we just pull over on the side of the road, like by a beach, and just open up the doors and sit up on the roof, and people were like, well, what's this? And we're like, it's a store, come on in.
Yeah.
And so we did that for 43 days that first summer, junior year. And it worked. We would literally sell shirts to have enough money to eat and have fuel.
Wow.
And that's how we would just keep going and kept going.
Dude, oh man, I love this.
And then went back to school junior year. And then my senior year, I always knew that I wanted to live here, well, in California. And so we did like another 20 days of retrofitting the bus, like getting it more livable. Yeah. Because the first summer, like, we had no idea what we're doing, and kind of like worked out the kinks. And we're like, oh, okay, but we need this. This will like make our lives easier. So finished that up and then set off to California. And my one business partner had to go back to college, so he left at the end of the summer. And then my other business partner went back to Fort Lauderdale, and I ended up living on the bus for a total of 253 days.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well,
okay, so the when you mentioned the bunk beds, you guys were actually living in that bus.
Yeah, fully.
The two of you for a bit.
There was 3 of us.
3?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
And we just drove, like, arced up through Colorado, hit San Diego. San Diego was like the first place we landed in. It was actually...
so wait, hold on. You got this bus for like $2,500.
Yeah.
And this thing could drive?
Yeah.
It was safe to drive, make it like cross country trip like that?
It made the whole thing.
And to live in it.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to see a picture of this bus, because that's a hell of a deal, it sounds like. Or at least you made the most out of it.
We put about 10,000 into it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But it was bigger than like a Sprinter van, right? It was longer.
No, I'm sorry. Full-size school bus.
Wow.
37 feet.
That's crazy.
You drove that thing through Times Square. No. Parallel parked it in New York City. We put it on a ferry. Yeah, we took that thing everywhere.
No way.
I drove it up to the top of the Rocky Mountains. I've done the whole PCH in it.
Whoa, okay. Gosh, I'm just trying to picture this. This is crazy.
Just so you can...
Please, yeah. Let's see it. You just showed me the picture of the bus. Yeah. How did you get that thing around to park it in? Like, where did you find good places to park this thing? And were there any rules or laws that got in the way ever of you just hanging out and kind of having your portable storefront in this bus?
So we did have our fair share of run-ins, but also this was 2015 and 2016. So it was before like the whole big van life thing blew up.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we got, people were like a lot more curious than they were like offended by it. So people were like, oh, I haven't seen this. Yeah. Nowadays, there's so many people that do this that it's become an issue. And like definitely people are getting like chased out of these areas, and everyone doesn't like it because they kind of relate it to like homelessness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But also a giant teal school bus was very welcomed by a lot of people as well. And because it was just so different and kind of unique and bizarre. Yeah, ended up one family that we met along the way, invited us back to their home up in Pennsylvania. And we went, and they took us whitewater rafting, and like,
oh wow,
like showed us a great time for like 3-4 days, and we still keep in touch.
Dude, that's incredible. So, okay, so what was business like? How would you just describe the style of the clothing that you were selling?
Well, it was all very nautical themed.
Okay.
So like that's the founding design. That
oh, I see this picture on your wall here. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the founding design, and
wow,
really sparked the whole thing. And so it all had to do with like,
so what is that? Is that like it's like a heart, but also an octopus?
Yeah.
It's like so for everyone listening, he's pointing to a picture on his wall, which is like this really
thigh tat.
Oh, that's your thigh tattoo too. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Yeah, that's sick. And you made that?
Yeah, that was drawn.
Wow.
So, and like everything had to do with boating and yachting and kind of that upbringing.
Okay.
So very nautical themed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you guys were obviously the only one of this kind when you're in Tallahassee.
Yep.
Moving around in this thing. How was business with it? And people buy it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. I shut it down because it's just like once I started to like learn about what the struggles of like these bigger clothing companies go through, I was like, I don't see this being profitable.
I see.
I mean, it was, but it wouldn't be like self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't live off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of pulled the plug on that just before I was hemorrhaging too much money.
I see. And when was this in relation to you moving from Florida to California?
So this is when we were still trying to make it work when I was living on the bus. And I was living up in Newport Beach on the side of the road for like 2 months. And I'd bike over to Starbucks and do some like freelance design work.
Yeah.
And then my buddies were in the cannabis space.
Okay.
And I went to Florida State with him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he asked me one day, he was like, hey man, like a room just opened up at the house. If you help us with our business, you can live here for free. So I went from kind of being homeless on a school bus at the side of the road to living in this massive mansion up in Orange County.
In Newport, yeah.
And so I did the cannabis space for a bit. I started a fake distribution company because I was selling like pounds to dispensaries.
Okay.
And this was like before it became recreational.
Got it.
You could do it like with your own kind of license in a sense. It was easier to do. So I'd go in with a duffel bag and a bunch of pounds, and I'd sit in the lobby and wait to see the buyers. And I'm sitting there with 4 or 5 other people that are like this. And so you kind of just get breezed over. So I did what I do best. I made a logo, I made a name, I made some t-shirts, some hats, some order forms, and like dressed the part. And I just said I was a sales rep.
Wow. And it was all you though.
Yeah, it was all me. And it worked. And then a couple people that I was working with and like buying and selling through, they said, hey, we want to start a distribution company. You already have the groundwork laid for all this, like all the logos, all the paperwork. And I was like, do you want to partner? Mm-hmm. So we ended up starting a distribution company. Grew that to about 25 employees.
Really?
Yep. Was the first person to sell Cheech Marin's brand. So
okay, well, what is that?
Chong.
Okay. Oh yeah. Wow.
So I got to smoke with him at his house in Malibu.
Whoa,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I called my mom right after. I'm like, you'll never leave him. Yeah. Smoke weed with. She's like, Willie Nelson. I was like, no. She was like, Cheech. I was like, yes.
Whoa, that's crazy. And so like, how long? Like, I'm trying to put this together. For how long after you getting to Newport was this when you?
So yeah, timeline. Did the East Coast trip, junior year 2015. Senior year was 2016, graduated, drove out here.
Yeah.
And then it was probably like, so I drove out here in July. By the time I got off of the bus, that was like, I want to say like October-ish.
Yeah.
I think. And that, but so this was about 2015, 2016, 2017. And then 2017 was when I did the distribution company. I sold my shares in that, and then went to start working for a couple other friends that were in the cannabis space, but they were starting a CBD company.
Yeah.
And so they were like, you know, design work. Can you help us? Said, sure. It was 3 of us sitting in a living room on a fold out table.
Yeah.
And then I was a part of that company. It's called Medterra.
Okay.
And then they're like, well, we want to start like our own brand.
Yeah.
So I started, they're like, can you do the packaging?
Got it.
And
Okay.
I was like, never done it, but why not? And now that is the second largest CBD company in the world.
Whoa.
So,
and what's it called?
Medterra CBD.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And so
Damn.
I watched that grow from 3 of us to 90. And
Wow.
yeah, moved from a living room to like I think it was like a 50,000 square foot office.
Damn, dude. So that's a hell of a ride then. Like, and then did this eventually turn into your own design firm?
Yeah.
Kingsley.
So
okay.
They outgrew me. You know, I was 25 working like at a multi-million-dollar company. And, you know, I only knew so much. So they started hiring like C-level employees because they needed it for the growth. And so I eventually we parted ways. And I said to myself, I was like, I had a nice severance package. So I was like, I'm going to try and go out and do this on my own, fully freelance.
Yeah.
And if it works within the 3 months that I have, then I'll keep going. And that was 5 years ago.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you were really kind of pushing it right there with, like, were you back against the wall at that point, or am I misunderstanding that?
It wasn't that it was my back was against the wall. It was just like I had the opportunity. Like that was the only job that like I kind of work for someone.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of like why I don't like to work for people. Like I don't want to have to go to an office every day at the same time. And it wasn't a bad job. I just didn't
right.
do that.
Right. And you had that instilled in you from the days in the yacht yards.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was when I was like, okay, I have this opportunity. I have this like good jumping off point to make this work. And so, yeah, I did. And
incredible.
Honestly, the pandemic was really fruitful because people were trying to had more time and they were trying to start their own stuff. So I just got referred because I mean the company was very big, so I had kind of made a name for myself.
Got it. Okay, I was going to ask you that. How did you grow at first? And you had a good list of people that you had already worked with, and just it was a strong word of mouth spread.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's all it's been.
Really?
Yeah, I've not ever set out to find clients.
That's crazy because I was going to make a comment. I mean, well, obviously your work speaks for itself. Is what that tells me. But I was going to make a comment earlier when you talked about how when you were going and doing and delivering the weed, it was like a fake distribution company, you called it, but you made a brand on it, and then it works. Like that's the power of marketing and branding.
Yeah.
And so you had multiple points of success with this that showed you how much value you can create just from your designs.
Yeah. And then I always laugh about it because like if I'm like with my mom, I'm like, never in a million years did I think that I'd be designing boxes for everything.
Unreal.
I honestly love it, and like it plays into like my art background because I just view it as sculpture. And for me, it's like I want to make something that people want to pick up, touch, interact with, and that like grabs them from the shelf. Yeah. Like when it's like sitting amongst 20 other items that are exactly the same. Yeah. So it's like how to make it cooler, how to make it more functional, how to like portray the information in a very direct way because people are idiots. Yeah. And you gotta spoon feed them everything. So that's like a part of my whole why or how and why I make things. It's like is making it like very universally like liked. Yeah. For lack of better terms.
Wow. Okay. And what kind of software do you use digitally to create these designs?
Maybe a touch of Photoshop, but it's all Adobe Illustrator.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Illustrator.
Yeah.
It's that powerful.
Yeah, I'm 11 years deep of using that program.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, because Photoshop was like the go-to for so long.
Yeah, I mean, for what I do, you know, you have to tell the printer, you have to like kind of code in your designs to tell the printer what to do, like what's cut, what's folded, what gets like different like finishes on it, whether it's like that glossy texture or it's raised up. So you have to do that, and like Illustrator is really the only program that allows you to do those things.
I see.
There's, I think, I forget what the other one is, but I don't use it.
And does it have like a 3D feature?
No.
Okay.
No. It's all flat lay, so it's all very 2D, so it's like a big flat surface, and you have to like think about how that translates to 3D.
I see. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that we could go down a rabbit hole in that one. That's interesting. Yeah. But that actually might be a good segue, I guess, into 5cent art.
Yeah.
Right. How did this come about after you had this design business kind of make itself on its own from the reputation you had already built, and then you just made it official?
So 5cent, my last name is actually Nichols as well. It's Zander Kingsley Nichols. So
good thing he's on the Nichols and Dime show.
Yep.
I love it.
2 nickels mixed up.
Yeah, that's right. There we go. We got 5cent art and Nichols and Dimes. That's awesome.
So it was actually back in like MySpace days, this girl, Megan, she gave me the nickname 5cent.
Okay.
And my last name being Nichols.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And that translated to becoming my tag. Because I did like a lot of street art and graffiti. So 5cent was always my tag. And then, so whenever I make art, I go under the name 5cent.
Right. Okay.
And so 5cent is kind of a business. I mean, it is, but it's more so, it's just like when I make physical art, it's under the name 5cent.
Okay.
Yeah. And that too that was all word of mouth. Like people liked my designs. I do a lot of commission based work. So I work with a client to come up with something that they like, and they want. Like I do stuff that's my style, but I also do a lot that, because I'm very versatile and I'm very good at, again, making shit that people like and like to see. So I have just gotten like tons of word of mouth of like, oh, he can do this. Yeah. To go reach out and see if we can design a commission piece. So I made a bunch of car logos, like laser cut, probably 4 feet big. And because this one wealthy person I know had a car collection, he was like, can you make he showed me a picture of something, like one that was similar. He goes, can you make this? Yeah, I can make that. So made him one, and then he wanted 3 more.
Like a car? The whole?
No, just like the emblem. It was like a Porsche.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
A Porsche logo, Ferrari logo, Rolls Royce. Yeah. Like the emblems on them. And so he liked it. He bought 3 more, and then his friends bought some, and his other friends bought some. And then once I started making those, I kind of like tailored it to make other things like in the same style. And then it kind of like became something of its own.
Yeah. So you were basically repeating the same art piece that was successful. You were kind of mass producing it in a way, in your own way.
In a way, yeah. I mean, it was all made to order, but
okay.
But everyone liked the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. And you just so when you made your prototype, for example, for one of these emblems, like how would you describe it physically? Was it
So it's made out of MDF, which is a composite board. It's like it's like kind of like a plywood. So it's that, and then it's laser cut. Okay. And then it's multiple layers. So it's like it's a flat piece, but it has 3D elements and all those individual pieces. Like if you picture the Ferrari logo, like the horse is individually cut out and then placed on top. And then I do an epoxy resin pour over the top, so it gives it that nice like candy coat finish. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. And so when you say commission based, how does that structure work? Selling these things.
Pretty much. someone just reaches out to me,
Yeah.
whether that's Instagram, TikTok is big for me. So someone will reach out, they'll be like, hey, I want this. Put down, 50% deposit.
I see.
And the other 50% upon delivery.
Got it. Okay.
That's it.
Just basically made to order. Same idea.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. And how did this work out with you doing your design business at the same time as this? How did you devote your time to each of these, or was it a lot of the same work, but you just divided up the businesses?
Well, the thing is, like, with being freelance and working for yourself, there's like an ebb and flow of things, and so I'd try and book in, like, I'd know that I have X amount to do on like a Kingsley Design project. I have like X amount of hours, and then it takes probably like 20 to 25 hours to make one of the signs. And so I'll usually I always fit art in around my design work, because my design work is my bread and butter,
right? Okay.
And like that's really what pays the bills.
I see.
And so I'll just know, like, okay, I need to devote 25 hours. I'll have like that amount of time in the span of 6 weeks per se.
I see.
So I'll say, okay, I'll deliver the sign in 6 weeks. And it's nice because that way I'm not just sitting on my computer all day.
Yeah.
Like I'll do like a 5-hour sprint. I'll get up, I'll go to the garage, I'll put in 2-3 hours into the sign.
I see.
Come back to the computer, finish up there.
Wow.
And just kind of like go back and forth. It keeps me, like, I think, like, mentally healthier.
Yeah.
And it's not, it just doesn't make any one thing drink.
Yeah, definitely.
I cannot just do one.
No, it gives you variety.
Yeah.
And that's definitely good and important for creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. Man, okay, so this started approximately how long after you peeled off and did your own design did you officially create an entity for 5 Cent?
Again, like, 5 Cent's been around since college.
Okay, that was just like your brand. I see.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's kind of similar to Nichols and Dimes. It used to be a rap name of mine in college, and then it was it came back to life here for the podcast.
I like it.
Yeah, so kind of a similar thing there. But okay, let's talk about Vasi then. Well, when did Vasi come around? This is the Web3 company that's the ticketing app.
Yeah. So Vasi came around in, what was that? That was January 2020. One of my buddies, he's has a big venture capitalist crypto fund.
Okay.
And this was right as NFTs were blowing up, and he was like, guys, if I were to do anything right now, I would start a Web3 agency and help other companies like build their NFT collection. So we did, and built one out for a company, and then the market crashed.
Yeah.
We released the one, it went well, and then we really didn't have anything else. We didn't have any more business coming in. So we built out like our own collection.
Yeah.
On Solana.
Okay.
And that one was like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's called Troublemakers. I mean, it sold out, but it was Solana, so it was super cheap.
Okay.
Didn't really make much money on that. And then we were like, okay, what's next? And we thought, like, let's do sorry, this was 2021, not 2020.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes more sense because I was involved in this stuff, and I dove in on some of the NFTs, and I remember that.
So right, it was January 2021 that we formed the company.
Okay.
And then it was the bear market that hit like May.
Yeah, which we're still in, of course.
Yeah. So then we were thinking, like, okay, what do we do with this next? And we figured we could do ticketing with NFTs. Since there's like blockchain and like security, and you can't like duplicate.
Yep.
And so we started building out this ticketing app, and it was called NFTix.
Okay.
And then as we were talking to venues and like venue hosts about using our app once it launched.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, we understand the utility behind it being an NFT, but we do not want to touch it unless it's just strictly Web 2. So
because everyone was freaked out by
still are. So
still are. Yeah.
We brought it back, built it completely out Web 2, but we have all Web 3 integrations built in on the back end, ready to flip the switch when people are ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
that's smart. So you adjusted to what people were comfortable with still, even though you're trying to push the limits and innovate, right?
Yeah.
And now you have it all ready to go. As soon as people do catch on to that, you don't have to develop it from scratch.
And we also developed like a point system for all of our NFT holders. So for the 2 collections we launched, they'll have like points and rewards that they can redeem through our ticketing app for like IRL events. And so I think it was January of this past year. I think it was when we started it. And I did all the design work. Wow. Never built an app before, but I don't know, use them enough and have a good eye for aesthetic. So, and it goes back to just being like idiot proof. Like it's just a very, very easy app to use.
Okay.
With that, because one of my biggest gripes of like even Ticketmaster, I went to FKJ at Petco Park, and once you get to Petco Park, there's not very good reception. Yeah. And I'm trying to like, my ticket's not in the app. Yeah. And then I pull up my email, and
not loading.
It's barely loading. Yeah. And then it's in a PDF file in the email. Yeah. And that, like, if I try and pull that up, that takes a lot more to load. So I was standing in line for like 15 minutes, just getting frustrated. Yeah. And so our app, like, what you have to approve this feature, but it gets automatically sent to your wallet. Okay. You get an email, and the QR code's in the email. You get a PDF, and you get a PDF. So it just automatically saves to your phone, like, offline. Wow. So that's cool. So that way there's just no hassle. And it's in the app too. I don't understand. Ticketmaster and StubHub, it's not in the fucking app. Yeah. Is it really not? No. Still? Wow. And it just crazy. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So we're just trying to like create a better ease of things. Yeah. Well, it makes complete sense. I mean, even the boarding passes seem to have that figured out. Yeah. Right. Like the Southwest boarding pass, I have that saved in my wallet for each flight, and because of course, what if internet decides to stop working on your phone and you can't get through security? Exactly. So. Yeah, so we have important. I think we have this dev team out of Croatia, and there's probably like 8 devs really building it. Damn, 8. Okay. So I did all of the initial design work. Then we took on a UI UX expert, and she's actually down here in San Diego. A friend of a friend, and she took all my craziness and actually made it like into something real. Yeah. And also like was the perfect communication between like the artist and the devs. Like that middle person that understands their language and understands my vision. And so she put all that together. That's cool. So like, how does the team look? What is the structure of the team for Vasi? Who do you work with on this? So because you mentioned the developers in Croatia, you mentioned this girl here. Yeah. So me and my business partner, his name's Connor Pearson. Okay. And him and I started Vasi together. So he runs the business side of things, like bringing on like new people, partnerships, trying to seek out like these venues and hosts that will use the app. For sure. So it's the 2 of us, and then our lead dev, his name's Andy. He's in Croatia. Yeah. And Connor actually found him on Reddit. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. And so he's worked with us from the beginning, and he's 22 now, I think, and an absolute fucking genius. Yeah. So he like leads the dev team. So our dev team is like outsourced. It's like they're their own entity. So they're not like we contracted.
Uh-huh.
And then we have Taylor, which is the girl that lives here. That's the UI UX expert.
Okay.
And so we try and keep like a very slim team, like not a lot of overhead. And you know, we'll hire as needed, but a lot of it's just been building, so we don't need a crazy amount of people. And the people that we do, like, it's just contracted.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So there's a few irons in the fire.
Yeah.
How do you manage all this?
Sometimes I don't. To be honest, no.
But I'm curious how you answer this, like in a, however you're about to answer it, in a philosophical way, but also more of a day-to-day way. Like how would you divide your time, you know, from the morning to the evening?
It's literally like every day I wake up and it's like, okay, what, and I just make a list. I'm like, what needs to be done first?
Yeah.
What needs to be done today? What can be done tomorrow? It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Really. Like every day that I wake up, I usually don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
I see.
It's more so it's like, okay, what do we have in store? Like what's on the table right now? And like just kind of attacking the problem, or not problems, but the tasks that I need to.
Like, why do you say you can't have a plan? Because there's always just new opportunities coming up that change every day. Yeah,
it's like, you know, maybe one of my clients for like Kingsley Design Group.
Yeah,
they'll be like, I'll wake up, they'll be like, hey, I need to get this project like out, you know, by Tuesday.
Okay.
Can we push this through? And I'll go, okay. Then I'll look at, you know, what Vasi's doing, or what art I have. And it's just kind of like constantly shuffling things around and like fitting everything. It's like as I said, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
But it works for me. I work best in chaos.
Okay.
Always have, always will.
Why do you think that is?
Because my life has always been pretty chaotic.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's always just like kind of an adventure. Like same thing with the bus. I had no clue what we were doing and just went for it. And I think the thing is, it's like, and it does fall into like a lot of other like philosophies in life, is the fact that like, it's like if you spend time worrying about something, you're just wasting the present. Like, just attack things head on and like complete the tasks. Yeah. And like the next ones will appear and they'll fall into place. And it's like, if you waste fucking 10 minutes worrying about, you know, what has to be done tomorrow. Yeah. That's 10 minutes that you haven't done what you're doing today. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you kind of play it by ear every morning and wake up and say, all right, this is how today's going to look. Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. Wow. Okay. I'm curious how an engagement looks like with you for a new client. Like, are you able to share any examples of your clients in your design firm? And what does an engagement with you look like for somebody who's interested in using your services, your design? Like, how does an initial meeting start about the project? And then how does the engagement between you and the client work throughout that life cycle? Yeah. So there's two kind of primary types of clients. There's the people that already have a brand and need it either refreshed or to add to it. Or there's someone that's starting from absolute scratch. Yeah. Let's start with the scratch. Yeah. So scratch one. It's literally like a referral, and someone says, "Hey, Andrew, I have this guy that he wants to start, let's say, a soap brand. Can I put him in touch with you?" And, yeah, for sure. So put a meeting in the calendar, and then I just sit with them and I'm like, okay, so tell me about, you know, why you're doing this. Yeah. Tell me about, you know, who's your clientele, like who are you trying to like market to? Yeah. Tell me about, you know, yourself. And then I always say, I'm like, send me an email with pictures of branding that you like. I don't care if it's shoes, food, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that just gives me a good idea of like what their aesthetic is. And so I take the combination of what they're trying to portray and combine with like the aesthetic that they like and kind of like find like that happy median. And then we like I'll present a couple different logos to them, because that's, you know, where you start with everything. Like once you nail down the logo, it's very easy to build a brand around it. So we'll get the logo and we'll get that like, you know, 99%.
Yeah.
Because there's always like room for like tweaking it.
For sure. Yeah.
And then once we have that, then, you know, I usually when people come to me, they already have like the product in hand, or if they don't, like it's close to development. And so then I ask them, okay, what's your budget on this? Like what's your margin? Like how much money can I spend on packaging? Because that's a whole other big question that determines like, are we going to slap it in a bag with a sticker on it? Yeah. Or can I go all out and like build a box with a custom bag and like, you know, all the bells and whistles. And usually people want to go cheap. Yeah. Which doesn't allow me to have too much fun, but when they have a big budget for the branding and packaging, that's so much fun.
Is it just based off like hours you put into it? Is that how you charge?
I try and get people on retainer.
Okay.
And that's month-to-month contract.
Got it.
Pay at the beginning of the month, and that will pay for the work for the rest of the month.
Okay.
Because I've been fucked over before.
I see. Yeah, I can imagine.
So, I charge like $100 hourly when I do packaging. Okay. And I'll say like, okay, look, you can pay me hourly. I have to do that, but you know, you might not like a couple of the revisions, so you're just going to tack on hours and hours. So I usually charge $12.50 per SKU, which would be like one item. Got it. Let's say, you know, back to the soap. You have like a lavender soap, fucking linen soap, and Bay Breeze soap. Yeah. Those are all SKUs. So it'd be $12.50 per one of those.
Yeah. So you're kind of aligning it with how they're selling their own products.
Yeah. But that's just based off of like, you know, what I've found time is put into it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So about 12 hours. Okay. And that could be more, it could be less. Yeah. And then, you know, depending on how much work they want, I'll be like, okay, well, let's do a monthly retainer. Probably the best bet for you. Yeah. Also, that gives me kind of like a paycheck. Yeah. So I get to actually like, you know, I know this money's coming in every month. Yeah. Which is nice.
And it's like kind of, everyone gets to stop worrying about how much time you're putting into it. Yeah. Yeah.
They're not worried about me racking up hours.
Right.
Because then they'll like pump the brakes on certain things, and it doesn't allow me to like really do everything I need to do. It's very rare that it is hourly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like those options you provide. I'm going to zoom out, and something I thought of as you were talking about this is being an artist and making a living out of that is kind of like one of those things that people scoff at as being something very unlikely that you'll be able to make a lot of money and be successful doing, right? Yeah. And like you obviously have done it, and you're being successful with it by creating your businesses in this space. Like, how and why? I mean, you gave us the how, you told us what you did and the steps along the way and the timeline, but why do you think you stood out from the get-go as somebody who is going to be successful creating his own art brand?
That's a very good question, and I have the answer to that. So the thing is like the majority of artists are like, if in the grand scheme, are introverts. Yeah. They're very fucking good at what they do. There are artists that are 10 times better than me, but they'd have zero people skills. I'm a very sociable people person, and I'm an artist. And having those two skill sets allow me to create a business out of it. Yeah. Because I know how to talk to people. Like, usually, like, even when I work with other artists, the only reason I'm able to is because I know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
And like pry little bits of information, how to get them to come out of their shell.
Yeah.
But, going like when I was in school, I was very different from the rest of my class.
Wow.
Like, and people didn't really like me in art school at all. Like, I for your Bachelor of Fine Arts, you have to apply with a thesis project, which you work on for 3 semesters.
Yeah.
And so I had already built the bus, but I presented it. I'm adding to it, like, and the clothing is part of it. Like, I'm designing all the clothing. And so I presented the whole school bus as a thesis project, and they shot it down.
Really?
They said, no, you can't do your thesis.
Why?
Too commercial.
What?
I know. And my argument to them, and I said this to my...
That is interesting.
I know.
So okay, so I don't mean to interrupt, but it's almost like the way that the teaching art in schools is designed is kind of crippling the artists to be business people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, at least in my experience. And they said, no, this is too commercial. Like, it's not fine art. And I went, I can agree to an extent, but I was like, the difference is that I'm not going and working a shit day job and fucking flipping burgers or doing what the fuck ever.
Yeah.
And coming home and like spending my 2 hours of free time trying to paint or do my art. I was like, no, I'm learning and trying to create art to be my business so I can do it all the time.
Wow.
I was like, I don't want this to be like a side hobby where like maybe I can do it a couple hours a day if I'm not drained from whatever soul-sucking job I have. I was like, I want this to be my entire life.
Wow. Okay. So that's a great answer to that question. Yeah. So I think a lot of people wonder this. And so it's partially the way schools teach it and the expectations and parameters they put around what art is, it sounds like. And also just your relentless focus on saying, hey, I need to make a living off of this. So I need to think about, you were thinking like, how am I going to make my love and passion for making art my actual livelihood?
Yes.
Unlike most others out there where they were maybe more zoned in on just what fine art is or whatever the school defined art is.
Yeah. And I mean, it's wild because, again, like, I would have never expected to be doing packaging. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting now that you've said this, like, I'm thinking back, I'm like, my school didn't really set you up for anything after. And they didn't really, like, I didn't even think about that being a job until I was offered it.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's such a, there's such a trend here with a lot of people I have on this show who have, they're entrepreneurs today, but all of them, pretty much just about all of them have earlier stories of entrepreneurship where they tried something, they started something, they grew something, it failed, tried something again, it failed, whatever, or they moved on from it. Maybe not necessarily it failed, but it's definitely a common trend around the attitude towards school. There is. A lot of people are kind of like, dropped out. It wasn't really applicable to what I was trying to do, and here I am today.
If I didn't go to art school, I would have not graduated college. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I stayed in college was because I was actually learning like trade. Wow. Like, I was learning how to weld, I was learning carpentry, I did foundry. It was like, it was very hands-on learning. Yeah. And I was successful at that. Yeah. But if it was, being stuck behind a fucking computer or book, nah. And like, mind you, I didn't make it that far in business school, but my friend or my business partner did. And he was like, dude, I learned nothing. Okay. Yeah. Because I was just going to say, the real business learning comes when you're actually in a business, running it, working in it. Fucking up. Yeah, exactly. Doing everything right, doing everything wrong. Interacting with people. Yep. Yeah, that's cool, man. So to tie all this together, I mean, I ask this question at the end of every show, which is, what is an entrepreneurial life hack that you've taken away that is
kind of uncommon against the mainstream belief is how I phrase it. Is there one that you can think of coming off of all your experience with these many businesses you have started over the years? It's more than just the 3 that you have today, just the 3. It's a lot. Do you have anything like that in mind?
I mean, it's not really that it's, against the grain, but it's like, I think it was, I can never remember if it's Edison or Ford, but they're like, I never failed. I just learned 1,000 ways not to do it.
I like that.
I like this my entire life, whether business or, personal, it's try and try again and fail again, and succeed again. If you're not, actively doing and trying, like, you'll never know. Mm-hmm. You can either have great success or great failure. Yeah. But you need to do something to figure that out. Yeah. Or to even get to that point. Wow. So yeah, I mean, I've failed plenty of times. Mm-hmm. I've succeeded in things. I wouldn't consider myself completely successful yet. But I will get there. Yeah. Somehow. Mm-hmm. Some way. I keep pushing forward. I mean, you move fast and break things. That's the same tech, right? I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Man. Well, that's awesome, dude. Gosh, that was a lot to try to cover in just an hour here. I wish we had more time, but I mean, I appreciate you sharing the stories about how you got started and getting into creating your 3 businesses. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what you continue to do. I want to check out some of your art, and I'm stoked. It looks like you got a lot laying around the house here. Yeah. One last thing I wanted to ask you is, given the profile of person that's on this show, somebody who's entrepreneurial, who has a business, they're working on something, is there anyone that you have in mind in your network who you think I should have on the show? Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, it would have to be remote, but my business partner, Connor. He's based where? He's in Columbia right now. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, he would be a great person. Nice. He's the other side. He's been with me for my clothing company. He was with me with part of my distribution company. Yeah. He was there for Medterra. We have Vasi together. So you get like the whole polar opposite of me with talking to him. Nice. That's cool. Well, that would certainly balance out the equation here of everything we learned about you today. Yeah. On how you guys apply your different skill sets to making the business what it is. But really cool stuff, man. Thanks. Yeah. I love that we got connected and talked about this stuff. How can people find you, to follow you on social media, get in touch to potentially be a customer of one of your few services? Yeah, I mean, it's Zander Kingsley on Instagram, Zander with a Z, and then Fivecent Art on TikTok. Okay. Those are really my 2 outlets. Nice. I used to have websites and portfolios, but I don't need to. So that's crazy, man. That's amazing. The power of word of mouth and the power of the brand, the reputation that you've built, that's definitely been a theme, I think, throughout this conversation, is how you've leveraged the power of branding and marketing to speak for itself and to raise your value. Yeah. From the example of the weed distribution, when you created a brand and it became successful, the school bus idea, I think that there's just a lot of that along the way. And that ties into what I was asking you about around how you stood out as a artist to become successful on your own versus many artists out there who probably, it's more of a hobby, right? Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Well, Zander, thank you so much for chatting with me, man. This is cool. I'm excited to see how people respond to this and to check out more of your art, man. Me too. Keep up the great work. All right. Thank you, man. Yeah. All right, dude. Cheers. Cheers. Good stuff. Thank you for joining our conversation today on the Nichols and Dimes Show. Please check out and follow my podcast Instagram at Nichols and Dimes Show. I'd love to have you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. You can also find it on my website. I welcome and encourage any feedback you can share in the reviews so I can continue to improve and develop the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.